Hello everyone and welcome to the channel. I'm Emmanuel, I'm a former Boeing 737 pilot, and in a lot of videos people talk about what they like about their aircraft. Now in this one I want to talk about what I actually disliked about my former aircraft, and I've picked the three biggest points for you over here. So we'll start with the least problematic and move our way up to the worst of all. Alright, number 3, that is actually the sunshades in the Boeing 737. So you've got these windows, which are, well, if I now say huge windows, other people are going to slap me, and indeed comparing them with my new aircraft, the A330, those windows are pretty small, but they are still rather big when the sun shines directly in front of you. Now, in all 737s you have these little green sunshades over here that PNDG, by the way, by default stows in the pockets down there, and that you can move along. But have a look into the position of those sunshades and have a look into all the area that is left clear of it. So if your sun is shining just down there, if it's just coming through the horizon, it's going to go right into your face, and you have no way of preventing that if you are using the sunshades. Now, I'm saying if you're using your sunshades because obviously you've got a checklist lying up here that you might be sticking up your window, but then again you only got one of them and the other pilot does not have another. But then you got your QRH, you got your high visibility vest that you can perfectly stick up to the sunshade, for example by putting one side over here, then the other you put over the end of that little sunshade rail over there, and that way you can cover a larger area. But if the sun is still shining right through it into your face, especially when it's coming right from up front where you actually need to look at, there is just no way to completely block the sun out of your view. Now, I have seen some people actually use their coats and stuff like that, but that's for a different topic. Alright then, number 2. And this is probably, I tend to say, the worst that you can find in the cockpit overall, and that's actually the cockpit size. So I heard a lot of you flight simmers say something like, well, that is quite a cramped cockpit, but luckily we only need to do like 2-hour flights with it, so it's not that bad as it would be on a long-haul plane. Now, truth of the matter is that couldn't be any further from the truth than it really is, because, well, it is true that you typically fly only like 1 or 2 hour sectors in this airplane, maybe 4 hour or 5 hour sectors. I believe the longest I did in the 737 was something like 3.5, but in any of those cases, you are still going to fly the return flight, and then you will probably fly another 2 flights. So the longest I sat in the A330 cockpit now was 13.5 hours, including some bits of delay. The longest I sat in the 737 cockpit was 14 hours. So obviously with a couple of walkarounds in the meantime, but that is about it. So if you're trying to stretch out in the 737's cockpit, well, you've got your pedals down there, you can somewhat put your feet under them, but then again you would be blocking your airplane. Then there are chances you might be touching them, so you might disconnect the autopilot. And I tell you straight away, you don't want to hit that rudder in flight, so you got to be very careful with your feet down there. Now if I'm trying to put my feet up here, and you can see that there is actually a little bit of, well, I'll just call it covered area, where Boeing put some materials that are going to protect the airplane from damage if pilots constantly put their feet up there. But at least if you have my size of the body, then you can't put your feet up there without your legs touching the control column. So once again, that is not a situation you want to be in. So you've basically got to sit there in a normal seating position. Now, talking about the seat, if you have a look at the back of the seat over there, I would say that the first officer seat over here is in somewhat of a normal position during flight. Now, have a look into the area you have behind that seat. That is the area you can recline the seat. You can see this is only like 15 or 20 degrees that you can actually recline it, so you can't even put it into a proper relaxing position in cruise in order to, you know, conserve your energy a little bit. But you constantly are sitting there with that rather uncomfortable seating position. Then going ahead with the seat itself, well, have you ever thought about how you're actually going to eat in this airplane? Now, I might be getting a little bit too comfortable with the table in the Airbus. I can tell you I loved it from the first day on. But think about the 737. You're sitting here like this, and you're getting your meal. And working for 12 to 14 hours, you certainly will have to eat in that airplane. Now, either you are going to put the meal straight onto your legs, or you get a tablet from the cabin, which is not always going to happen, or you will have to help yourself. Now, luckily enough, you have something that you can use to help yourself, and you'll find that right in the back of the captain's seat, which is the aircraft technical logbook. Now, that is not exactly a perfect place to put your food on, however, it does work quite a bit better than just balancing the food on your knees while you're trying to eat, especially when a little bit of turbulence kicks in as well. You name it. The last thing over here, we have those little handles right here in the front, so if you've ever wondered what this is, then you can see this is actually a handle. You can move this one outbound, and then you can grip it while you're trying to get into and out of the seats. But nonetheless, getting into and out of the seats always is a bit of an adventure, because either your trousers are going to get stuck somewhere on the switches over here, and yes, I did actually rip a switch off once, or you are coming back from a walk around when the airplane has been pre-de-iced, so you're walking through a position where there is de-icing fluid on the bottom, and that is slippery as hell. So when that happens and you're trying to get back into the airplane, and that stuff is going to stick to your shoes for hours, you're trying to get back in, you got that metal plates down here that you would normally step onto, but guess what happens if you've got slippery de-icing fluid onto a metal plate? And now, luckily, it never happened to me, and I don't know of any colleague whom it happened to, but I'm 99% convinced it has happened in the past. You step on here with your slippery shoes, you slip forward, you fall right into the control column. And if that happens during flight, you can imagine what's going to happen next. Alright, so that is number 2. So let's go ahead with the worst of all items in the Boeing 737. And this is actually nothing you are going to find in the cockpit, but it is something that you will find behind the cockpit. So let me move over to the first officer's seat and look back there. So what are you going to find right behind that door? Well, let's have a look. You walk the other side and you see this, the lavatory. In my new airplane, in the A330, there is a lovely little statement in the manual saying there are no smells on the A330. You might laugh at that. I can tell you there are smells in the Boeing 737. Whenever someone goes to poop up here, it moves right into the flight deck, and you will smell it for the next 10 minutes. And that's probably the worst of all Boeing 737 quirks that I came about. You are simply going to smell everything your passengers do in the forward lavatory. And it won't help to put your air conditioning into high flow. It won't help to do anything about it other than to put the oxygen mask on, which you're not allowed to do. So, that's it. The 3 worst points, in my opinion, about the Boeing 737 next generation and the 737 MAX aircraft. So let me know what you think about it. Let me know if you've flown the plane, if you think there is anything worse than what I've mentioned. And I'm very much looking forward to your feedback on this one. Thank you very much for watching. If you liked the video, then do leave a like, as it does help with the YouTube algorithms. If you're up for more, then be sure to subscribe to the channel. And finally, if you really love what I'm doing, I would appreciate a small donation through the Buy Me Coffee link in the video description below. Thank you very much for watching, and I see you all again on the next one.